So welcome to JOC Huddle number 22. I can't believe we're at number 22, but thank you all for making it to JOC Huddle number 22. Today we'll be talking about bid factors and how your contractors should be calculating them, right, Cynthia?
That's correct.
So let's take a quick look at this morning's agenda. So we're going to start off, of course, with some welcome and housekeeping. We're going to be talking about CMAG 2023 coming up at Sacramento State, some exciting CJE events coming up. I'll talk to you about the regional contracts and the new regional contracts. Then I'll hand it over to Gordian to talk to you about the advantages and disadvantages to your bid factors. So let me see. Andrea, are you in the room? Don't think that she's here yet. So I want to tell you guys about the Construction Management Affinity Group coming up at California State University's Sacramento or Sac State. I don't know why she put that in there, but Sac State. So that'll be on March 7th through March 8th. Start time is noon on March 7th there. Cost is only $80. We're going to be talking about a bunch of great CMAG topics, like we'll give you some CPDC updates, talk about OSIP 3, our safety reporting program, which yours truly personally worked on, Office of Fire Safety updates, Office of Fire Safety inspections, the Buy Clean California Act, which doesn't pertain to JOC projects, by the way. And we're going to be talking about subcontractor pre-qualification and buyout. I'll take this registration link right here and I'll throw it in the chat. If you have not registered yet and you're a construction manager, please consider attending. It'll be very beneficial. So we got a bunch of great CJE events coming up. If you guys don't know what CJE is, it's the Center of JOC Excellence. So in Southern California, the Chancellor's Office will be hosting the Contractor Outreach Panel. This will give contractors the opportunity to really learn more about CSU and just really kind of talk to them about what they're thinking about on projects working at CSU. So if you are if you're one of our Southern campuses, please consider attending on Tuesday, March 28th. I'll throw this link in the chat as well once we get done with this section. And I'm very excited to announce that we will be holding the JOC certificate program at the Chancellor's Office from May 31st to June 2nd. So this training, it'll give contractors the ability to learn and talk about just the different JOC training. The instructors will teach the job order contracting certification program, which provides owners and contractors professional certification of the skills and knowledge needed to manage their job order. The great thing about this is it actually kind of goes hand in hand with CMAA. So if you're looking for other professional credits, you can actually use this credential to get credit hours. So I'll throw this link in the chat as well, but I highly recommend this. I'll be there and some of the other campuses will be there, but consider coming to the Chancellor's Office from May 3rd to June 2nd. For the JOC certificate program. So taking a look at our 2022-2023 JOC regional contracts, all of these contracts are pretty much have not met capacity yet. So if you haven't used them yet, please feel free to use the JOC regional contracts for any of your minor cap projects. Most of them have not met capacity and they're all still good through at least this summer. You can contact me if you need to know expiration dates, or you can just check the CSU webpage for more information. Currently, CPDC is working on the 2023-2024 regional general job order contracts. Those went out to bid a couple of weeks ago. Coming soon, actually coming really soon. On Monday, I'll be sending out the regional roofing job order contracts because I know we have a lot of roofing issues all over the campuses. So we'll be having two roofing JOC contractors in the north and 2 in the south. Then we'll follow that up with hazmat, and I'm thinking electrical JOC contractors. And I'd love to hear from you. Would a electrical JOC contractor help you on your campus or not, or other disciplines that you think that might help? We did find that the mechanical contracts were not being used last year, so we might actually sunset those for this year. So let me know, email me. I think you guys all have my contact information. I'm open to suggestions. The only one that I'm not open to, there will be no JOC elevator contracts. I'm not going to do that, not at all. But please let me know if you've got any great ideas for additional contractors that you might need on your campus. So without further ado, I am going to hand it over to Cynthia at Gordian.
Thanks, Jeremy. So today we're going to talk about contractor adjustment factors, right? What they are, why they're so important, and what they mean for you guys at the campuses. So most everyone should be aware, within JOC, we do bid out our contracts, and the contracts do get awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, right? And so what they bid out are what we call adjustment factors. These adjustment factors not only determine the lowest bidder, but they're also more importantly used to price out each of the individual job orders, right? So they get applied to every single line item within the contract term. So the way that kind of works is the contractor will get their contract rate from the lowest responsible bidder. That factor that they bid on then gets applied on every single task. So when a job comes up and you say, hey, Mr. Contractor, we need your pricing from the proposal, the pricing that's provided in the book, our construction task catalog, only covers the bare cost of construction, which is that unit price. And that includes labor, material, and equipment costs. That gets then multiplied by the quantity, which would be the scope of work, right? The linear footage, the square footage, the cubic yards, et cetera, et cetera. Then that gets multiplied by what we call their adjustment factor. That includes all of their overhead, their profit, their subcontractor costs, all of that fun stuff. That then becomes the total for the task. The sum of those tasks become the total job order price. So their adjustment factors, yes, are important for the time of bid, but more importantly, they're important for the entirety of that contract life cycle. Would you mind going to the next slide? Thank you. So what do adjustment factors include? They include and are not limited to all of the overhead, profit, and taxes, not only for the contractor, but also for their subs. That is a huge misunderstanding that we hear often. Well, what about my sub costs? This isn't going to cover my sub costs, right? Their adjustment factor should account for all of their overhead, profit, and taxes, not only for them as contractors, but also for the subcontractors. It includes all of the prep and modification of proposals. It includes project-related overhead costs that we are considered as office trailers and porta potties. That's a huge one that we see come through in proposals, right? That's considered a project-related overhead costs. It includes all of their construction vehicles or any storage devices that they may need. All of their PPE, actually, all PPE is covered under their adjustment factor, and it isn't something that they should be charging you for. Another big one, daily and final cleanup. You can have your contractor clean up the job site completely every single day, and they do not have to charge you for that. The idea behind that is, why should they charge you to clean up their mess, right? The protection of all surfaces. So if you require them to paint a room and they need to protect the desks, right, the chairs and all of that stuff, that is inclusive as a project related overhead cost. Again, they're protecting the surfaces to leave them how you handed it over to them. Also, site supervision and management meetings. So this is a big one. This includes project managers, site supervisors for all of your jobs. This is a requirement that they are required to adhere to. So you can, as the PM, can require them to have full-time on-site site supervision on every single job at no cost to you. It's part of their contract and it's a part of their adjustment factor. One big one that I noticed, I think also gets missed widely. This is per the big note, which is understanding the construction task catalog verbatim. Business risks, such as the risk of a lower than expected volume of work, smaller than the anticipated job orders, poor subcontractor performance, and inflation or material cost fluctuations are also covered by their adjustment factor. That is a huge statement to make, right? So please remember, this is all available to you under the big note. It is what we consider it called the big note, but it's called Understanding the Construction Task Catalog. This will give you a more comprehensive listing, and it's also included in every single construction task catalog. This is a contractual document that the contractors are aware of, they get trained to, they know of, and they actually get a copy of every single time that they go out to bid. So keep that in the back of your head.
So real quick on this one, Cynthia, if you guys don't know what the big note is, we can actually send it out with these materials, but I highly recommend printing it out and sticking it on your desk. It's a very valuable resource, a cheat sheet really not only with tips like this, but it also has units of measure in the back too, just to kind of give you an idea when you're looking at a proposal, or right when you're building a proposal, you can actually see what that unit of measure is, because some of the unit of measures, some of them
a
are
little wonky.
yeah, some of them are a little new to me too, but awesome. But yeah, we can send you a copy of the big note with this with today's materials.
Absolutely. So yeah, that leads us to the
There it
next
is.
thing, right? Understanding the construction task catalog. So again, it is the first 6 pages of every single CTC. And remember, this is a contractual document because it is a part of the CTC, right? Your contractors are legally bound to adhere to these rules. So whenever there's a question about, well, do we want to be a little lenient with them because of XYZ, because of those, because it is such an expansive cleanup that they're going to need to do every day. Remember, we can only adhere to what our contract dictates, right? We cannot step out of those bounds. And this is a really, really great tool to tell you the rules of that contract. So this particular little cheat sheet is what I call it. This will tell you how all of our prices are created in the CTC. So it talks about things like, what do we mean by labor, material, and equipment costs, right? Well, for labor, for example, we're talking about up to a 4-person level at prevailing wage rates. Those are the things that are discussed in there. Equipment costs, do we mean what type of equipment? When is it appropriate for the contractor to charge extra for that kind of thing, right? Well, if we're talking about larger equipment, larger charges, that'll be a separate cost. And then material costs, what exactly do we mean by that? So all of these things are covered within those 6 pages. Of course, it also includes the things about adjustment factors. So we share this with the contractor. We note that this is what's going to make sure that they get paid out for every single appropriate task. So they know this, they understand this, they can have a copy of this. So this is not new information to them. And so if a contractor ever tells you, well, I didn't know that, well, it's in that big note that was handed to you at the beginning of your contract term. And again, this is something we can send a copy to you. We have this really cool version of it where it has like annotations to it. So it'll also go further into depth about it. And I'll share that with the team here, so you guys have it on hand.
Actually, John Futch actually just put it in the chat. So if you guys want to
look at that, thanks, John.
Download it right now and take a look. A very valuable document to have when you're working JOC projects.
Awesome. So how do they calculate out these factors? It's such an important number, right? How exactly do they go about figuring out what exactly to bid? So the way that we notate it to the contractors is, hey, do what you know, right? Use historical project data. Go back to your jobs that you know forwards and backwards and you've done multiple times across a couple of different trades, especially for those B-licensed contracts that go out to bid. Do a couple of different trades. What you're going to do is you're going to select something that you know the scope of. You're going to go ahead and build it off of our CTC, right? And then you're going to run a direct comparison. What would you charge for this outside of JOC? What does the CTC charge for this? The difference between the two is where your factor should lie. And I'll show you an example here in the next slides of how exactly that's calculated out. So we're going to take, for example, would you mind switching to the next slide, please? Cool. So we have this example that we show all the time to the contractors. So again, we're selecting a bunch of different trades that we're familiar with. In this particular example, we're going to say we're going to swap out some doors, some hardware, some interior lighting, plumbing fixtures. We're going to replace a boiler, and we're also noting any exclusions, right? That's a huge, huge thing to make sure that we're including in our scope. Normal working hours applied, they'll do the same thing for their other than normal working hours and their premium hours, right? So if you go to the next slide here, in this particular example, we're going to say, we're going to price it out directly from our CTC. Again, our CTC only covers the bare cost of construction, labor, material, and equipment costs. It does not account for their overhead and their profit and their sub costs, right? So what they're going to do is, in this particular example, we priced it out of the CTC and said to replace a boiler, it's going to cost $33,000. Those doors and hardware materials are going to be $8,200 for that install. The lighting is going to be $13,000 and the plumbing is going to be $11,000 for a total of $66,344 with 12 cents. That's the bare cost of construction from our book. Does not account for any of their overhead and profit. Okay, great. Now, what would Mr. Contractor charge for this outside of in the field, right? What are their direct costs out in the field for this particular example? What are your quotes that you're receiving from your subs telling you? Well, we're going to say that replacing that boiler is going to cost 34,000. The doors and hardware are going to be another 7,200. The lighting is going to be another 12,000, and the plumbing another 10,500, right? For a total of $65,000. We always notate that in this particular example, the book does pay out better than the direct cost from the quotes that this particular example contractor received. And that's only to notate that on some jobs, the book will pay out better. On the others, it's vice versa, right? Which is why it's important to do it across a couple of different trades, a couple of different fields, so that they understand that the prices will fluctuate according to the field, according to the scope. Next slide, please. So the way that we do it is you would put it all together, right? You would take your factor that you got. You would take I think we missed a slide here, but what you would do is you would then you would multiply the bare cost by their overhead, whatever that is, 8, 9, 10%, whatever they're comfortable with. That would give them a subtotal cost. They would then tack on another 8, 9, 10% for their profit, right? Whatever it is that they're comfortable with. It's not something that we dictate to them. That'll then give them what that cost would be from our book according to what their profit and overhead is. They divide that by what their direct quote is in the field. The division of the two will then give them their adjustment factor. And in this particular example, we're showcasing what it would mean to have the different types of factors according to specific costs from our CTC. So in this particular example, we're saying, if you were to build out a factor, again, we cannot tell them what to bid, right? If the book is telling you that the bare cost of construction is $64,000, but you choose a factor of 1.22, right? Your project your project value with the overhead and profit is $78,650. Your sub cost is $65,000. That then gives you a profit of $13,600, right? However, using that exact same example, if you were to bid out something like a 0.9040, right, that then gives your project value, overhead, and profit $57,856. So they're at a loss of $7,000, $7,144 to be exact. Yeah. So again, we don't dictate what they can bid, what it exactly that they should be selecting, but we give them a lot of examples of, hey, this is what it would mean if you were to bid out something like this. This is what it would mean if you were to bid out something like this. And this is how you can calculate the difference out, so you know where exactly you lie within that realm. And there's another example in the next slide as well. We also do notate to them that exaggerated quantities are not acceptable, right? Added tasks are not acceptable. We always make sure that they are aware of that. Project managers do review proposals, as they should, right? You guys are doing your job and reviewing your proposals. So they need to take that into consideration when they're building out their factors, so that they don't account for any miscellaneous tasks that they might want to add to the project when the time comes.
And Cynthia, additionally on that, auditors look at our proposals too. It doesn't matter how big or how small these projects are. The audit team does come in and look at these. So when contractors are coming in, and I've been doing JOC for a couple of years now, you'll find things like shade cloth, and they're like, oh, well, we're not making any money. You're killing us on this. We're losing money. And I'm like, well, you're actually losing money, because when you bid the project, I mean, think of it as $1, right? Like if you're going under $1, you're losing money. Like if you're going above $1, you're making a profit. So, if you're bidding these projects and you're seeing that everybody's going below a 1.0, that means they're saying they're not going to make any money. And that's not our fault. That's their fault, and it's not going to be made up in shade cloths or porta-johns or fencing or cleanup or whatever type of items they're putting in today. So
correct. So what you're seeing here is what we showcase also to the contractors and saying, so this is a weighted award criteria figure, right? We show them the math, and it'll vary from campus to campus how you guys choose to weigh that out. But basically, again, it is a weighted composite score, and we show them exactly what that means for them as far as calculating that out. What I want to do is show you the next slide, though, because it further exemplifies here. Oh, maybe it's the one after this, but what are the risks behind this? So we've all dealt with low adjustment factors at some point or another, hopefully not, right? But at some point or another, we've had a proposal where we're just like, man, where is this coming from? Where are these numbers coming from? Are we looking at the same scope? So we know the risks of low factors ultimately lead to arguments in the proposal review, right? As Jeremy mentioned, we get those unsupportable tasks, we get those exaggerated quantities, we get those shade cloths type of line items, right? That ultimately do just lead to delays in the work order development. And it takes you guys longer to review proposals. That's what we're trying to avoid here. Realistically, when you guys get a proposal, it should be so straightforward to where your scope is itemized 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your proposal comes in, it shows its math. It's saying this line item is calculated for this amount of quantity because of so and so, and it correlates directly to line item 1 in the scope, and so on and so forth, right? Line item 2 in the proposal should say this is the math behind it, and this is the line item it's associated to in the scope of work. That's it. There should be no variables. Why is this here? Why do we have a flag person when we're painting indoors? Like those kinds of things, right? What we're trying to do is avoid this. And again, this is another slide that we do show to the contractors, and we're very straightforward. We're very transparent with them and say, hey, this is going to reduce your volume of work. There's a zero minimum amount on all of these contracts. So ultimately, you're only harming yourself by not bidding out fairly for yourself and setting yourself up for success, right?
Correct.
It's a loss of profitability, and there is no second chance for them to improve their margin. Whatever they bid out on day 1 is what they use all the way through to day 365. And that's something that we make very, very, very clear to them. But one thing that I feel like gets lost in translation is important, and it's important for you as PMs to make sure that when you're first meeting your contractors to say, hey, make sure that everyone on your team knows their adjustment factors, because sometimes the person who's the one building out the one who's building out the bid isn't the one who's building out the price proposals, right? So we want to make sure that those teams are communicating with each other, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, I didn't know that's what was bid for me. This is just a job that was handed over to me, right? And now I'm expected to build a proposal, and I didn't know that they build out these factors. It's important for everybody on our team, on the Cal State team, to make sure that we communicate that with the contractor as well. Hey, make sure that you're communicating with your internal teams, with your teams, Mr. Contractor, so that everyone knows what you bid out for them. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was walking a contractor actually at the chancellor's office, who the project manager walked the project with me, but the cost estimator didn't. And we had words because I said, I don't mind if the cost estimator puts it together, but if the cost estimator is not there for the job walk, then they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
I would challenge campuses while you're waiting for these proposals to come in from your contractors. I know I'm busy, and I know you guys are busy, but if you have the time to go in to Gordian and build your own, like you can call it test project or whatever, to build your own
estimate,
to build your own estimate. And you may miss things, the contractor may have missed things too, but it gives you more of an idea of when you're looking at their proposal, being like, well, where are they getting this from? Because the walls aren't that big, there's not that many ceiling tiles. Like it's really, and if you've got plans, it won't be that difficult, but you should at least try to make your own proposal before the contractor's proposal comes in.
Ooh, and the cool thing is now everybody's on Gordian Cloud, right?
Yep.
We migrated everyone over. So in Gordian Cloud, number 1, you can build out your estimate. It's not something that the contractor sees on their end. It's only visible by your team on your inside. So that's awesome. But the cool thing is you can actually run a direct comparison of your estimate to the proposal, and the system will tell you where the variances are, what was added to their proposal that isn't included in your estimate, what was deleted, what was modified, where the quantities vary. It's super snazzy, and it'll save you so much time on the proposal review, actually. So do the work ahead and save yourself some time on the back end, is what I'd say.
Yep.
It's awesome. Okay, this is the one that I was trying to get to. So this is something that we do also showcase to the contractors, and this is a historical factor trend, right? Again, we can't tell them what to bid, but it's important for them to be aware of what it means to bid out certain numbers, right? So, and this is all based on historical factor trends that we at Gordian have seen spread across our client base. So factors that tend to lie between a 1.17 and below tend to not cover their profit and their overhead. So that's where we see the inflated quantities, the added line items that don't necessarily have to do as much. And then once we start getting into the factors of the 1.17 to the 1.23, the factors in that range do tend to cover the cost for self-performed job orders, right? So no subs, this is just you as the base contractor doing the work yourself. That's the realm that you're going to be in, anything between a 1.17 and a 1.23. Anything above a 1.23, that's where we start covering all of the costs, not only for the contractor, right? The sub costs, all of that comfortable realm. That is where we start to see it. And again, this is just historical trends that we showcase to them, showcasing like, hey, this is what we've seen happens. Bid whatever you want to bid, but this is what we're telling you, you could be at. So there's no question as to why am I not making any money off of this? This isn't covering my sub costs. This is all kind of showcased to them. So yeah. Questions?
We did it. So folks, I just want to open it up for questions and answers. We've got plenty of time left. So if you've got any questions about bid factors, proposals, the weather, I guess, whatever you guys want to talk about, we're here for you.
Anything that you guys have noticed happen with your adjustment factors, or dialogues that you've had to have with your contractors because of their adjustment factors?
I think I just heard crickets, actually, Cynthia.
Is everybody awake?
Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But oh, Robert's guys, I knew he would bite. Thank you, Robert. What do you got, bud?
Hey, good morning, Jeremy.
Morning.
Good morning, Cynthia. When we talk about the bid factor, I think we should also mention the significance of our annual contract and how that correlates with each other.
Do you mean
Well, they will not honor a bid factor for 5 years, right? We need to execute that contract. Jeremy, you and I briefly talked about this recently.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bid factors are locked into that contract year. And now with the extension, it could actually be up to 18 months. So hopefully your contractors all read that now, that you don't actually have to start the contract until you get that first notice to proceed on the first proposal. Mm-hmm. But Robert's talking about, you have a contractor that in 2021, bid a certain factor. Well, in 2022, we know that inflation really clipped construction quite a bit, and the trends are starting to level off a little bit. That's actually going to be our next JOC Huddle, talking about inflation. But the price of materials have gone up and down significantly, and that's why it's important to make sure that your JOC contractor knows that they are locked into that bid factor for a full year.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Anybody else? I think everybody just wants to start their weekend, or maybe everybody just wants to get going. So guys, I want to let you know about some upcoming trainings. Andrea, do you want to talk about your upcoming training?
Yeah, so as Jeremy mentioned earlier, CMAG is going to be held this upcoming, not next week, but the week after at Cal State Sacramento. So we would invite all of you to come and join us and talk about the various topics that he showed earlier. So I dropped the registration link in the chat. Would love to see you all there.
Awesome. We'll be talking about all sorts of great things, not only JOC, but I told them Buy Clean California Act, which doesn't pertain to JOC at all. And then we're gonna have a fun activity, right? We're gonna do some sort of fun team building.
Oh yeah, we'll have a good icebreaker. We're still working on it, but
maybe karaoke or something. No,
I know the biggest intent is we do these trainings online, but we want to get people in person to be able to network with other campuses, get to know people in their same positions on other campuses, so that if there's any questions you ever have, you don't always have to come to Jeremy or myself or the CEO. You can ask your colleagues at other campuses if you're too embarrassed to ask us, or you don't want to, seem like you don't know something that you feel like you should know. We want you to know that there's always resources out there for you other than just us.
Correct. Thanks so much, Andrea. JOC Huddle number 23 coming up on April 7th. Cynthia and I will be talking to you about the inflation on construction materials. The influx, it's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster ride, but Gordian's going to bring some of their stats in with some great charts. I love charts. I love PowerPoint. So they're going to bring some great data in, to let you know how much of a roller coaster ride it's been the past couple of years.
Awesome.
And then I also want to let campus staff know that are using JOC, they're highly recommended to use Gordian University Online. And if you don't know what it is, please ask your account rep for more details. They can sign you up for Gordian University. It's basically just a JOC 101. If you've never worked with JOC before, you need a friendly reminder about how things work with Gordian, JOC, and the CSU. Please talk to your account rep and they will set you up at Gordian University. And then very excited to announce this, all previous JOC huddles are now found on CSU Learner Sum Total. So if you're an MPP, you can actually assign JOC huddles for your coworkers to watch, or you can just go on there and watch us talking about all sorts of great JOC topics over, I think I've got at least 10 or 15 of them there. So check them out on CSU Learn Sum Total. And I think that that's all we've got for today. Cynthia, thanks so much for joining us again. Campuses, thanks for joining us. And everybody stay dry out there and stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. That was a
For sure.
very lively conversation. I was hoping we'd have more questions, but
Ours too.
Nicole just asked, what is Gordian University?
I didn't want to do it in front of everybody.
That's okay. It's basically our e-learning kind of module. So you can go online and go through a self-paced learning course. It's really informational. I highly recommend you go through it if you haven't as of yet. But there's a lot of really great learning tools on there, and it's just all online at your own pace.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have, because I don't think I have access to like the cloud or anything. I don't think I've been set up. Is it?
No, it's external of the cloud.
Okay.
But go ahead and I'm going to drop my email in the chat. And if
Okay.
you send me over your information, I can get you set up in there.
Maybe we should call it like CSU Gordian University. So people like it's like another campus of ours, you know?
That's
Yeah,
true.
there you go.
It's our virtual campus, our
It is.
satellite campus. Ooh, there we go.
But they're very informative. Contractors go to them. A lot of campuses have actually gone in. Do you get a flashy certificate when you're done or something, Cynthia, or how does it? No.
Ooh, I would love certificates.
I know that typically when we do those kind of my learning courses or the Gordian University courses, we do tend to get some sort of like certificate of completion. I'm not sure if it's the
I
same.
think there's one on there, yeah. But
Yeah,
Okay.
if there's one on there, but I'll double check because I know that would be awesome just to have.
yep.
Okay.